Hello! Welcome to ZIM Capture Part 7. I'm inventor Dan Zen, and ZIM at zimjs.com is an open source library to help you make interactive media on the HTML canvas using JavaScript and Create.js. In today's capture, we're going to take a look at how to load images and sound. And I have an example of that in the frame section on the ZIM site, zimjs.com, so we'll go there now. And then the last template here is assets, showing you how to load assets. So let's see what happens when we do that.
Welcome to ZIM Interactive Media Modules.
Ooh, how exciting. So there's an image and then we had sound going. Let's take a look at the code that did that. We're viewing this in Atom. You could Control U and get the source of that code and then save that and start your own file. Now we're using ZIM frame right here. ZIM frame, we're making a new frame, and when the frame is ready, we can start our code. Now, for the assets, there are two methods we use that are methods of the frame. Frame.loadAssets is one, and the other is frame.assets when we want to get the assets. So frame.loadAssets starts the loading, and our first parameter is what assets are we loading. These can be images or sound. And this is an array of them, so if we have multiple ones. If we only have one, we can just put a single string there if we want, or we could have an array with a single string in it. And then the second parameter is the path. It's optional, it's a path to that content. You can, if you want, take the path from here, don't even pass it in, like that, and put it on both of these if you so desire, in which case note that what we load here in frame.asset is the name of the asset. In this, now we would load that full whatever we had up here, full asset name in that case. But just undoing that, because we've got two, it's just kind of handy to be able to provide a path. Now, before I go any further, there was some information up top here about loading assets. First of all, ZIM frame wraps the Create.js preload classes. So I really didn't do anything here. That was all Create.js and their preload classes that does all the work here, or that do all the work. They are a little complex to use. Like there's several lines, first of all, that you need to put in place. There's manifest, there's load queues and stuff. I just decided that I would wrap it with a couple lines. Now the Create.js preload classes are more flexible. They can load more types of assets, text and so forth. So if you're wanting to do other types of loading, please check those out. But I'm usually loading images and sound, and that's pretty well it. So I sort of wrapped those in a slightly easier manner. Now, whether you're using Create.js or ZIM to load your assets, there will be an issue with Chrome when you're trying to load your assets locally. So no problem on a server, that's fine, but there's security issues if you're trying to load assets locally. You can actually change those to allow a file access from files. So follow the steps here if you're wanting to do your testing in Chrome, which many people do. Now you'll be able to test Chrome without those security errors. Okay, so that just takes a second to do, and you should do that. If you're testing with Firefox or Edge, you don't have that issue. And once again, it's no problem. There's no security issues when this is on a server, so you could always load your files on a server and test there. Okay. Right, so we got to the load assets method of frame, and there's a couple events that you're going to get. You have a complete event. The complete event triggers when the loading of the assets is complete. There's a progress event, which would give you, if you capture, you do the event, you capture the event object, you can get the event object.loaded property to get a number from 0 to 1 that represents how much of those assets have loaded. And you can make a progress bar based on that, like 0.7 would be 70%, etc. And these events, the progress, the complete, and indeed this last one, asset load, this is each individual asset that loads will give you that, and you can find out which asset that is, e.asset, to gain access to that. Those events are all just piggybacking on the preload.js events as well. Okay, once your assets are complete, and this is how I usually do it, but you know, mind you, it depends. You may have assets that you want right away and you want to find out, I want to use this one right away, but this other big one I'm kind of loading in the background and I don't care about it. In that case, you would use the asset load. But for the most part, I just work on the complete event. When your assets are complete, you can access them via the asset method. So frame.asset logo PNG will give you access to that. Now that gives you a Create.js bitmap. So I made the bitmap for you automatically. That's another thing in Create.js version. That's just sort of one more step. You get your load and then you have to make the bitmaps from that as well. In this case, this frame.asset is the bitmap when you run that. And I'm assigning that to logo, and then I can add it to the stage. Now I'm in full, so I'm doing a resize, and my ZIM Center logo is what's adding it to the stage. But you can add your asset to the stage, set a cursor and a click on it, etc., just like you can with any other display asset. For the sound, here's the sound. Now you access the asset in the same way, except you .play the sound. And that's just sort of like create.js.sound.play, and you would put the ID of the asset that you're playing in there, followed by the second parameter is an object with all sorts of properties like volume and looping and pan and stuff like that. So when you play here, you can also, for instance, loop that. Loop :-1 would loop forever, loop :2 would loop twice. So you can add extra, just like the Create.js play, you can add your parameters there. Except you don't need to worry about the first parameter of the Create.js play, which is the ID, because you're doing it right in here. All right, so this line right here, just what I've got selected there, would play the sound. But sometimes you want to dynamically adjust that sound afterwards, like fade its volume or turn it off and pan it, that kind of stuff. You can then, what this returns is a sound instance, a Create.js sound object, and we're storing that in the welcome variable. So later, if we wanted to, we could turn the sound down by going welcome.volume equals 0.2, etc. And that's pretty well it. To load assets, you use the load assets method. Capture the complete event, and then use the assets method to access them. The picture is already there, and a sound you can play right away. I'm inventor Dan Zen. This has been a ZIM Capture. Have a great day. We will do more ZIM Captures in the future. Yeah!